The Russian-Ukrainian war continues, taking the lives of soldiers on both sides and turning Ukrainian cities and villages to dust. Despite significant losses, the Russian army is still advanced on practically all sectors of the front. Given the resources invested in this offensive, it is difficult to call it successful. Yes, somewhere they still manage to push through the Ukrainian defense, but the pace is clearly slowing. At the same time, President Zelensky reports that new powerful waves of Russian army's offensive should be expected soon. Hey, my name is Alex, and this is a quick update on the Russian-Ukrainian war from the perspective of someone living within it. So, let's move on to a review of the situation on the front. Kharkiv sector of the front. In the area of the village of Liptsi, the Russians unsuccessfully repeat attempts to advance on the village. Our fighters meet the enemy with artillery and drone fire. Fighting continues in the area of Gliboki and Lyukyantsy. No enemy advancement are recorded. A little further east on the map, the enemy has occupied Bakhrovatka village in the Vovchansk direction and continues assault action in Staritsa, located to the west. Special forces of one of the units of the main intelligence directorate replenish the exchange fund in Kharkiv region in the area of Bakhrovatka village. Fightings continue in the area of Staritsa village and for Vovchansk city. In the latter, the enemy has entrenched to a depth of up to 850 meters, holding positions in the area of the central hospital. In a video, a Ukrainian airstrike on this very hospital in Vovchansk, where Russian troops were attempting to gather, has been recorded. At least 6 aerial bombs were used. A Ukrainian FPV drone attack on the bridge between Kha-Harvina and Privokzalna streets has also been recorded. A group of Russians reached the bridge, hiding under it. The defense forces, using FPV drones, inflicted damage on enemy, destroying them. Meanwhile, in the occupied part of Vovchansk, Russian soldiers who have so far managed to stay alive are engaging in their favorite activity, stealing toilets and other items from Ukrainian homes. And this is what the city of Vovchansk looks like from a bird's-eye view. Another city where the Russians are using their usual scorched earth tactic, destroying it with constant shelling and bombing using guiding aerial bombs. Let me remind you, only 2 weeks ago this was just a small quiet town at the border with Russia. Fighters of the 2nd Battalion of the 66th Marine Brigade shared footage of precise strike on a concentration of Russian infantry on the northern outskirts of Vovchansk. Ukrainian aviation is also recorded here. Ukrainian Mi-24 are flying on a mission somewhere in these surroundings. Significant elevation changes allow our aviation to operate effectively here. On the Svatov sector of the front, Russian troops continue attacks along railway north of Kislivka and are pressing in the northern part of Berestove. In the latter area, the enemy has advanced on a section up to 1 kilometer wide to a depth of up to 1.7 kilometers. In the area of Novoselivsky, the Russians have recently also intensified their assaults, often using infantry plus a tank and 2 or 3 APCs, sometimes without a tank, but usually 3 or 4 units consistently try to break through. Our boys are holding the line. Liman direction. No Russian advancement have been recorded recently. In these frames, an epic episode of the annihilation of a Russian tank in the area of Kreminna. The operator of the strike drone from the 63rd Separate Mechanized Brigade are at work. And in these frames, a new strategy from the various of this same 63rd Brigade. First, the Ukrainian wheeled drone with a heavy anti-tank mine drives onto an enemy dugout. It detonates there, creating an opening in the Russian dugout. Then, through the newly created access point, the guys finish the job with FPV drones. Chasiv sector. In recent days, the Russians have conducted a series of fairly powerful attempts to advance in this direction. The video shows footage of the repulsion of a mechanized Russian attack in several waves on Chasiv. Several enemy vehicles managed to reach the Canal microdistrict in the city of Chasiv. However, they were either destroyed or fled. All attacks were successfully repelled. And these are episodes of repelling a massive mechanized Russian assault in the area of Chasiv on May 17th. On this day, the enemy attempted to assault using about 20 vehicles. With the forces of the main intelligence directorate's Kraken unit and adjacent units, the offensive was repelled. And this is what the city looks like now from a bird's-eye view, another destroyed city. Some buildings are still standing, but in time they will also be gone. The video shows the delivery of supplies and ammunition to Chasiv. This is what it meant when it is reported that the road is under enemy fire control. Every trip takes place under the intense enemy fire, but it must be done, because the lives of fellow soldiers depend on it. The video is from the soldiers of the Black Swan unit of the 225th Separate Assault Battalion. Avdiivka direction. In the northern part, despite all attempts to break through the Ukrainian defense, the Russian army is failing. In these frames, artillery and FPV drones operators of the 47th Separate Mechanized Brigade Magyura are repelling another wave of Russian assault supported by armored vehicles in this direction. They attempt to assault using 2 BMPs and a tank. In the southern part of this sector of the front, east of Yasnobrodivka, the armed forces of Ukraine attacked a Russian infantry unit with FPV drone at a crossroads east of the mechanized yard. The enemy occupied an area up to 1.25 kilometers wide to a depth of up to 500 meters. In the western part of Netailove, the armed forces of Ukraine attacked enemy positions along Naberezhna Street with drone drops. The enemy continues attempts to advance and secure the village with the aim of fully occupying it. Our soldiers are making efforts to prevent this. Fighting is also ongoing in the area of Domakharovin and for Krasnohorivka. A video of the annihilation of a Russian tank somewhere in this direction. The ticket to hell was issued by the FPV drone operators of the strike drone company of the 47th Separate Mechanized Brigade Magyura. This direction remains one of the toughest, but the losses for the Russians here are enormous. During one of the recent Russian assaults, the strike drone operators of the strike drone company of the same 47th Separate Mechanized Brigade Magyura destroyed another Russian infantry assault group, with only one occupier surviving because he begged for mercy. Searches for missing relatives among the Russians in this direction are also recorded. These searches give an indication of the life expectancy of Russian assault soldier. For example, here is one of such search. The person signed a contract with the Russian army on March 5, 2024, and by April 18th he was reported missing. His adventure lasted 43 days. And to demonstrate that these are not isolated cases, here is another example. This individual signed a contract on January 20, 2024, and was reported missing on March 12th of the same year. His ordeal lasted 52 days. The essence of all this is that no compensation is paid for those missing in action. The following situation also occurred. Another occupier went missing, and when his relatives began to demand information about him, he was declared wanted by his unit for unauthorized military absence. So, no money, no person, just problems. Velikonovoselivka direction. The Russians continue to exert pressure on Urozhaine and Staromayorsky. No advancement is recorded. The Russians attempt to advance near the village of Priyutne. Video from the soldiers of the 228th Battalion of the 127th Separate Territorial Defense Brigade. The Russians' attack was successfully repelled. No changes on the map are recorded. Further west on the map, on the same sector of the front, north of the village of the Marfopol, the fighters of the 102nd Separate Reconnaissance Battalion attacked with the heavy drone Baba Yaga, equipped with the machine gun, the enemy positions in the northern part of the Hulaipole Dachas gardening community. Robotine sector. In the Robotine, Russian forces continue to exert pressure in the northern direction along Silska and Mura Street. The armed forces of Ukraine attacked enemy position with FPV drone in the northern and eastern part of the village. In fact, all Robotino has turned into a gray zone, where it is extremely difficult to establish and maintain positions for both sides. Russian soldiers periodically run into the village, mostly all of them perish, and those who manage to survive hide in the ruins. But they won't last long without supplies and under constant surveillance of Ukrainian drones. Recently, a drone captured a Russian assault infantryman in an area of this village who decided to surrender. With the help of the same drone, the Russian soldier was guided to the Ukrainian positions. Tauria sector. There are no changes observed on the map here. Recently, Ukrainian aviation activity has been noted targeting Russian positions on the left bank of Dnipro River. Strikes on Kamenka-Dniprovska were recorded. The photo shows the result of the strike, the village of Old Zbyurivka. Ukrainian aerial strikes are also recorded targeting unclaimed Russian personnel position in the area of this village. Russians attacked Ukrainian with Iranian drones last night. Seemingly, we have learned to repel them. Out of the 37 drones launched against Ukraine on the night of May 19th, reports indicate the destruction of all of them by Ukrainian air defense forces. Russians also indiscriminately struck populated areas of Ukraine with guided aerial bombs. Footage shows one of such bombs heading straight for a high-rise building in a downtown in Kharkiv. Apparently, Russians deliberately target civilian residential areas. As a result of the strike on the recreation base in the village of Chekaska-Lozova on the outskirts of Kharkiv, 16 people were injured and 5 died. All the injured have been hospitalized. Russians are also destroying other buildings and settlements with those bombs. There is not enough time to describe all of this in one video. In addition to those bombs, Russians also used cruise missiles and rockets. Russians launched a missile strike on the warehouse of the logistic operator Integrated Logistics Systems in the Odessa region. According to Russians, of course, there were stored more than 20 sea drones, 800 artillery shells and ammunition for small arms. Oh, and the Neptune complex was also there, somewhere on the third shelf, I believe. Just imagine the force of detonation of all these goodies if it were really there. And judging by how calmly the building burns, it's obviously just a logistic depot. Ukraine in turn attacked important targets in Leningrad and Kuban regions, Russia. In Vyborg, Leningrad Oblast of the Russian Federation, explosions occurred at night, presumably at the liquefied natural gas terminal. In addition, explosions continue all morning on the territory of an oil refinery in Slavyansk na Kubani. It is also reported that against the backdrop of successful attacks by Ukrainian drones on Russian oil refineries, Belarus has sharply increased fuel supplies to the Russian army. Russia's own capacities are no longer sufficient. It is also reported that overnight defense forces destroyed the Russian minesweeper of Project 266M Kovrovets. The ship was dismantled in Crimea. Unfortunately, there are no photos or videos confirming this at time of recording the video. And that wraps up today's video. If you found this information helpful or somehow insightful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye!